Native Americans used to call maple syrup their spring tonic, and surprisingly, in its pure form, maple syrup is pretty good for you. In fact, it's considered to be a superfood. Naturalist Laura Rogers from the Nature Zone shows us what it takes to tap into this sweet syrup and tells us how we can join in the fun.
Well, we have two events coming up in February. We have a family nature night on Friday, February 24th. And that is from 4 to 6 p.m. here at Miller Park. And we're just going to go into how to identify a maple tree. I'm going to make everybody go out and find one. We're going to tap it, check out the sap, have some fun, taste some syrup. And then the next day, we're going to go over to Camp Kumbaya for Maple Sugar Madness, which is an annual event we've been doing for quite a while. And that's from 10 to 2. We're going to do a little bit of what we did the night before, but we're also going to have pancakes. Ooh. On an open fire.
Wonderful.
I know, and sap boiling stations and all sorts of fun stuff.
And give us a little sneak peek of what you're going to teach us. How would I know this is a maple tree?
Well, I don't know. Should I tell you or should I make people show up at the pro? I'll tell you. Maple trees, it's kind of hard to tell in the winter because their leaves are not here, but they have what we call opposite branching, which means their branches on either side of the stick are right across from each other. So that's one clue. Their bark is kind of grayish black, and again it depends on the age of the tree, and it's in long sort of furrows, as you can see, kind of longitudinal flaps that kind of peel off on one side. And if you can sneak a peek between some of these flaps, you see the inner bark's kind of orangish red, so there's some good. And plus with maple trees, the yellow-bellied sapsuckers love to drill little holes. We're not the only ones that like the sap. So if you see a bunch of tiny little holes, like a typewriter, that might be a maple.
And why go, full out pure maple syrup? Why is that so great?
Well, the pure maple syrup has nothing added to it. It's basically what comes right out of the tree. You just boil it down, no other added ingredients. So you don't have the added corn syrup or sugar. You just have what the tree makes. So you've got minerals, you've got some vitamins, you've got potassium. It's actually, dare I say, kind of good for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
And, we have something hooked up right here.
Yes, we do.
And it takes a lot of this clear fluid to actually make some syrup, doesn't it?
It does. This is a gallon, and if we were to fill that up with sap, we might get maybe half of this cup of syrup once all is said and done. So it takes about anywhere from 30 to 40 gallons of the sap to make 1 gallon of syrup.
So when you go to the store, it's really not like you're getting the real maple syrup, is it?
Yeah, well, a lot of the brands, because it's so labor intensive, they'll just add a lot of corn syrup and other things, and that makes it a little cheaper too. So, if you want the real thing, just check the back and look for the ingredients. It should say 100% maple syrup or maple sap. It's going to be more expensive too, which is why you should learn to make your own.
And you guys are actually going to go kind of old school and even make your own, what is it, spiles?
Spiles, yeah, the little very fancy apparatus that you hammer into the tree after you drill your hole. They weren't always this fancy. The pioneers used to just take pieces of sumac branches and hollow out the middle. So we'll be making some of those too as part of our program. You can take one home with you. Old school.
Now, let's take a sip of this pure stuff. It's not boiled down.
No, this is straight from the tree. Are you ready?
Is it yucky?
It's delicious. Okay. Clink.
It is slightly sweet.
Just a little hint of sugar.
Tasty.
Yum.
The Nature Zone has 3 upcoming maple sugar events. The first you don't have to register for, but the other 2 you need to call in advance at 434-455-5878.